Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Well, since Titans went bang, and now two have, they've left behind them in their wake a caustic cloud. This caustic cloud being severely damaging to ships before it starts to dissipate and the causticness of it starts to ebb and flow away. We all knew there was going to be something in there, and usually about 7 days after the demise of any Titan, that cloud becomes safe for commanders to venture in. Now for that, you are going to need a special type of ship, something that can withhold itself against the onslaught of mild causticness that happens to be in there, and also to be able to defend yourself and pick up all the items that are floating around. With the environment being harsh but not lethal, you need a ship that can store all your swag and Thargoid materials, such as Thargoid drive components. I present to you my AX Grave Robber build, something that can stand the heat in the Thargoid kitchen. Now, as we know with Elite Dangerous, things tend to go bang on a regular basis, and those of people who watch my stream will know that it's usually me. In this video, we're going to go through entering into the Thargoid caustic cloud with our ship, and at the end we're going to have the Grave Robber build. Now all that remains inside the caustic cloud is the remnants of the once alive Titan. In this case this was Tyrannus. However, there are going to be scouts and glaive and other interceptors popping in and out, trying to hamper what you're doing, whether they're combing the rebel for any additional survivors or not. We don't know what they're doing. Perhaps they're salvaging their own supplies. But either way, you haven't got to worry about the Taurus pulse weapon knocking you backwards, so a Thargoid pulse wave neutralizer is not required. The sound artistry inside this degraded maelstrom now is absolutely fantastic, and it's worthwhile taking a little bit of time to listen to it. Have a listen. I've recorded some here. It truly is a fantastic soundscape that's been recreated in the game. You get that feeling of it cracking, ebbing, perhaps evolving into something else, or just basically in its final death throes of what's actually been done to it. A catastrophic explosion. Exactly. Mining these materials, you're going to need things like collector limpet controllers and an abrasion blaster to maximise the amount of material you get, just like you were doing this with the other Thargoid material when that Thargoid was in full health. New materials like bone structures, cysts, all that sort of stuff can be readily mined. You can get hold of caustic shards, meta-alloys, tissue samples, all readily available with the minimal amount of danger compared to going in there with an active Thargoid and active Thargoid patrols. But let's talk a little bit about this Thargoid drive component. Achilles Aerospace has urged pilots to plunder the Titan wreckage, thus encouraging people to go in. Now these drive components, some people have said, have been 10 kilometers away from Tyrannus, and you can see we're about 9.15 kilometers away from the actual center, wherever Tyrannus is showing up on the scanner. I've found them as far in as 5 kilometers, however, so there seems to be no rhyme or reason for how you can get it. It's a cargo item, not a material, so make sure you've got your caustic cargo rack there as well, because it will start to corrode your ship. Picking it up with those limpets is an easy affair, and given the fact that you only have to produce one Titan drive component, Achilles Aerospace will give you a reward of 3 paint jobs. 3 paint jobs for one item in the Achilles system. Anyway, as we've said, it is dangerous, perhaps not as dangerous as what it was, and it's obviously leading to the story-driven narrative that hopefully is going to see us furnished with a Python Mark II and other parts of the game. So far, the war has been quite, well, climatic, I would say. I get the feeling there's going to be something more. And as for all the other materials you can find here in the degraded maelstrom around the defeated Titan, it's worthwhile probably collecting them and storing them on your carrier. Although those commanders who want to go in there and make some quick money, some fleet carrier owning commanders are offering huge amounts of money for these particular items. Worthwhile making a few credits, should you need it. Either way, let's get on to the Gravedigger build for this cutter. This is an AX Gravedigger build. And it might be worthwhile pointing out that on a recent stream, I found out that Guardian technology doesn't degrade inside the degraded maelstrom. Although I haven't proved that myself. Although a lot of commanders were saying that's the case. Let me know in the comments if that is the case and you've had first-hand experience of it. Anyway, let's get on with the build. Okay then everybody, so here we are in the Grave Robber build. So straight off the bat, you've got to be able to defend yourself when you're in the graveyard, the Titan graveyard. What the Titans left behind. So I've gone for a beam laser, modified up, you know it, thermal vent. Gone for overcharged, not ideal, but it's the best for what I've got at the moment. I've got enhanced, pre-engineered multi-cannon in there. They are knocking about. I've got a normal enhanced multi-cannon, another pre-engineered one. I've got an abrasion blaster, because that's good for scraping off all the scum that furnish you with more materials once we're inside the remnants of the cloud. Again, multi-cannons. This is what we're going for. It's the only other non-AX weapon we've got here. There's the abrasion blaster and, of course, the beam laser. Now, the abrasion blaster we saw when the Titans were healthy, you could shave off materials and get more per deposit. That's what it's all about. In the utility mounts, well, heat sink, yes, and then caustic sinks, of which I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Some are engineered, some are not. Run out of materials doing all my engineering, see? Got to go back to the crystal shards. Got a pulse wave Xeno scanner for scanning all the hulks that are left there. And like I say, we got the heat sinks. Core internal, military grade composite. Get in there, heavy duty armor, because you are going to have to withstand a bit of a beating. This build has no shields. Got the power plant, low emissions, thermal spread, thrusters, dirty drive tuning. I could put thermal spread on those as well. Keep the temperature down a bit more. Frame shift drive, increased frame shift drive. Life support, yes, I've got life support there. Power distributor. Now, here we go. I've gone for weapon focused here, because that's what I had knocking about. Charged enhanced is probably your best bet as well. And probably flow control. But hey, I haven't got that. That's all I had left knocking about. The sensors, I've gone for long range. And the fuel tank, 64, because you've got to get about in it. Next up, optional internal. Well, because there's no shields on this particular build, you've got to be a bit careful, because the rebuy is obscene. It's utterly, utterly obscene. Universal limpet controller, lovely, because it's there for all your limpet needs. We've got hull reinforcement, and again, we've gone for heavy-duty reinforcement. Some have got deep plating on, some have not. Anti-corrosive cargo rack. Now, I've gone for a 5 there, which is what I had knocking about. I've only got 1 5, might as well use it here. And the rest I've bolstered up with 2 additional 4s. Everything else, hull and module reinforcement, as you can imagine. Got the weapon stabilizer to allow me to have those AX weapons. And a detailed surface scanner because, well, why not, innit? Because you might as well have it and leave it in there. What else could you possibly put in there? A 1D hull hull reinforcement or an AFM. Not going to do much with on a ship this size with a class 1 AFM. And a planetary approach suite, which is typically there. No vehicle bays, because what is the point? The key thing here is caustic sink launchers, because once you get in there, it's a bit of a slow burn, and weapons to defend yourselves. Alright, so that's typically the build of the Gravedigger. Lovely. Let's move on. So there you have it. It's a build that happens to work for me and should work for a lot of commanders who have access to the AX weaponry and a little bit of engineering, but not necessarily a lot of engineering in regards to typical hull reinforcements and caustic sinks. A little bit of heat management. It's worked for me. Now, the cutter, I realise, is a big ship. It's like an endgame type of ship, and you have to go through a structure to get hold of one. This process can be applied to any ship, and any ship that you really can put your hands on, providing it's either got some military slots or the space to put in additional cargo. Perhaps the Python is a really good version for this. Anyway, I've been Ricardo. Let me know how your AX Gravedigger builds go. I'll see you soon.